It is a great day in SimWorld, everybody. Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today. B-Ron here alongside me is Yells as always. And Yells had a big day yesterday, commitment craze. Yesterday
Huge.
started and today continuing to roll. Yeah, we got some big
Continuing to
news.
roll, yes indeed. You want me to go ahead and put some of this stuff
Yeah,
out here?
yeah, let's
Some
do it.
of the moves that we were hoping to see yesterday have finally occurred later in the afternoon or later in
Woo.
the evening, overnight, early morning. So early bird gets the worm. SimWorld today is on top of it. We're gonna start out here. The
Yes,
number
sir.
one recruit out there, Tyree Wells. He has committed. He is hard committed, and it goes hard too. Coach Pope out in Cascadia bringing him in. We'll go by these one
Wow.
by one. I want to get your reaction, B-Ron, but he's headed to
Wow.
Cascadia to the Pacific Northwest, not playing anywhere in the Gulf Coast region whatsoever. B-Ron,
That
what's
is a
happening?
huge that's a huge shock to me. I know we spoke about it yesterday, and I think over the last days leading up to it. But when you have a guy like Tyree Wells, who's in your region, a top player in your region, you want to keep him, again in region. And for whatever reason, that wasn't a thing. Maybe Coach Heish's comments drew him away from that whole thing. I don't know what's going on with all that, obviously, but he's gonna join Cascade out there with Kevon Jackson over there and Daniel Irvin over there, Tyshawn McGrady, Jetson Halliday the third. Like they have a lot of talent over there now, and with Tyree Wells coming in, the number two recruit in that region, man, that's huge.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Q Dozier, Jetson Holiday, as you said, Tyshawn McGrady, and now we're thinking Kevon Jackson's going there as well as Daniel Irvin. So yeah, that's a lot of
Yeah,
athleticism when you add Tyree Wells.
mhm.
From what we've
They're
seen,
loading up, man.
6'9", 260. You already got Q Dozier there, who's a big body. Uh, I'm excited to see what else is going to come out of Cascadia. It's kind of scary to see. Let's keep it moving. The absolute motor for Run DMV last year, not returning to Run DMV. He's
Nope.
headed to dun, 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 Queen City Kings. Nick
Yeah, this
Hugo
is the one that I was
is
talking about
hit.
yesterday.
Yeah, so we what's that?
This is the one that I said yesterday where I had things, but I didn't want to say anything about it. This is what I was talking about Nick Hugo.
Hey, Sky Durant, Renzo Bryant, Carter
Yep,
Fields,
Nick
Xavier
Hugo now.
Bryant, Nick
Yep.
Hugo, and then no one's talking about Cairo Windsor, who's a bono. I mean, is one of the greatest players we've seen in South Carolina in some time. Um, Queen City is looking stacked. That's all there is to
Yeah.
say. Hey, if we can stay on,
Cascadia and Queen
go
City are
ahead.
loading up, man. They really are. Both of those teams are gonna look really good this coming season, I think. And I don't think there'll be any surprise if they perform well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look at what we're talking about here. There's some notable names. We'll see how he gets able to get them to all mesh if he is able. Coach Skinny is
Hmm.
able to get them to all mesh. Staying on that North Carolina connection there, Benari James. Doing a little flip flopping, not returning to Indy. I think we all saw that coming. He is
Right.
from North Carolina, but he's actually taking Coach Skinny's old spot as Coach Lovelace inks Benari James, who will be on the squad joining Honcho Hardwick, Apollo Jones, Plachi Jones, and Jaquan Johnson. What are you making of that pickup for Heartland Zombie Stars? I know we thought it was already in the works, but it is now official.
Yeah, when it was a soft commit last week, late last week sometime, I thought that it was an interesting choice for Bernard to go that route, and why he didn't go to Queen City. But apparently there were things between him and Coach Skinny, not anything bad, but it just wasn't a good fit, from what I understand. Um, So seeing him go to Heartland is a surprise, though. I don't feel I don't feel like Benari's personality fits with Heartland in terms of him being a big personality, but I think that might be a good thing for him in some regards. I think it'll be fun to see how that team though comes together around Benari and the talent that's already there, though.
Well, I'll say this without digging into it. I'm sure some of our other analysts will get on top of this at any
Yeah,
point. But Bernard James, seeing maybe he fits the culture of that area, I don't know. I didn't spend a lot of time in that area. When I get in those areas, I get the hell out of those areas. But Bernard James, pairing with Coach Lovelace, who has been seen to be extremely vocal, and very big personality as well.
right.
I think personally it's a good pairing because I'll say this: for as much as we heard from Benari in the media and saw how he went at players, and went at media and everything else, the one thing that I will give this young man is he's got to figure out how to cultivate that. Don't want to stay stuck here too long, but is that it always seemed to have been done out of loyalty, either loyalty to his family, his brother, or his coach. So we've never seen
Right.
him go
That's true.
sideways on his coach. He stood by his coach all the way to the end, and waited till that panned out before he spoke a little bit of his mind. So I don't think
Yeah.
those two both having a big personality is going to matter at all. I think it may result in some passion on the court. So I'm excited to see that, some passion, some heart coming out of the heartland. I won't be mad at
Yeah.
all. Look, hey, Nick Beal. Nick Beal is on deck. Where did he play last year? Anywhere he wanted. He just got buckets. Now he's going to run and gun with the Run DMV. Rick decided to call him Walk DMV yesterday, but I think the run is back. Brooklyn's finest is headed to Run DMV. What does that do for that squad?
I think that's going to be a big help for them. We know that, with the loss of Nick Hugo and like that, they've had to kind of do a last minute scramble sort of deal. And I think that Nick Beal is going to be a big help in that department.
Yeah, huge. He put up buckets. He put up points last year. They kind of have a number one again. They didn't really have one before Nick Hugo was there. There was a few different people, but there was not a bona fide go get your own bucket kind of guy since Kenji Cross. That's back. We'll see what Coach Banks does with that. And then lastly, breaking news: DJ Davis from the West Coast stays on the best coast as Coach Nino gets a big pickup to go along with Suno Chopper, and
Yeah.
Dre Ryder. So as of right now, he's retooling, but he's definitely retooling with a particular kind of vibe, if you ask me. What do you make of the DJ Davis pickup for Best Coast?
So I know, again, because there was a soft commit last week about it, um, I'm not too surprised to see it stick. But now that it has, now we can officially start to talk about these things a little bit more. Um, this is a really big get for Best Coast because they needed to replace Legendary Outlaw. And I'm not saying that DJ Davis is going to be LDO 2.0, not what I'm saying. But I think that him and Choppa combining their powers together is gonna be in a similar vein to what Outlaw did in terms of production.
I'm gonna tell you what.
That's
How,
what I think
how you
anyway.
put that together like that with their powers combined? I think that's hysterical.
Yeah.
With their powers combined. Um, Other notable pickups that happened overnight, maybe mentioned, maybe not. Maybe you guys have seen them scrolling across our ticker or what have you. Brandon Crawford inks and finalized with Rain and Trays. That's a big up pickup for them. Daquan Carter is headed out to play for the Bay Area Breakers, and that guy's really big and talented. Justin McGavin. He's going to be joining the shooter out of Canada. He's joining the originators. Kenneth Klum to Atlantis. Bjorn Janssen to SimWorld Europe. Paul McAdams, people haven't heard a whole lot about him. Big guy, really talented, headed out to Beyond the Arc. Almighty Saul finalizing there with the H-Town Hoopers to join.
Mhm.
JJ Hoops, a lot of people were wondering what was going to happen while his brother Kai headed off elsewhere. JJ Hoops is heading to the Indy Stripes to play with Coach Shiragone. Exciting
Wow.
stuff there. And Ronnie Shanahan coming back to the Tex Big Baby. Yeah, he's going to be playing for Lone Star and Doug Dobbins. And I think that's a match made in heavy. Definitely, I remember we had some time to speak with Ronnie, and Ronnie really seemed like a real cowboy. If you are or not, sir, I'm sorry. Just saying, I think it fits. I think it fits in a major way. Any last
Yeah.
thoughts on those last pickups before we move on, B. Ron?
So I like the Ronnie Shanahan move, especially going to Lone Star. I thought that he was gonna maybe stay in Bay Area with him, possibly getting a starting role over there. But he decided not to do that. Coming home. always a good thing. Happy to see him back in the Texas area. So yeah,
All right. Well, look, we're gonna move on. Maybe you can cheer up a little bit, man. You seem a little down. You seem a little down this morning. I'm sure
I
this will
don't know,
bring you
man.
back. This Corey
Yeah, right.
Yams. Corey Yams is returning
Yeah,
home,
man.
right?
Yeah, this I mentioned it yesterday during our show, but this was one of the more surprising moves for me because I didn't see it coming. Because for all I knew, he was still at Showtime, so didn't hear anything about it. Now to know he's going to back to H Town, going home and playing for H Town is wild to me. I really like this move. I think the question becomes though, we know what Coach Bellardi done in the past with other bigs, with the New York Stars, a couple in our Ground Zero season.
Chance Milton Jones.
Anthony Jones and Stephon Johnson Odom.
Yeah.
Were the
SJO.
two.
Yeah, he had a lot of acronyms. No acronym here.
Yeah, none here. Just Yam time. But do we how much of an impact do we think that Will Billardi have on Corey Yams' play? Because again, with the two bigs he took and molded and for the New York Stars in our ground zero season, maybe this third one here will get him the moniker of like the bigs whisperer or something. I don't know, but yeah.
I don't know. That sounded really weird. I'm not gonna say nothing about
Yeah, I don't know.
that. I'm not gonna say. But look, hey, do I think it's gonna be have a huge effect on Corey Yams in his progression? I think I mentioned it somewhere. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it does. I think Corey Yams is going to play Corey Yams' game. I think that there's only one ball out there in Houston. I think that we will see great progression from somebody on this team, and I am going to assume that it will be a big. So could it be Corey Yams? Yes. Could we see Tyrell Thompson take an even bigger jump? Yes, because I think
Good. Yeah.
what Tim Bellardi does is you said could we find out he's the big whisperer. Yikes.
Wow.
But he's the guy that he really puts big men in a position to win. I absolutely think that's the case because that's what we've seen. I don't think we're finding that out. I think we see it. I think even last year with Cesar Castaneda, not a traditional big, with
Right.
Latin America, we saw him get his rocks off a little bit under Coach Bellardi. So somebody will step it up because he definitely puts them in a situation to succeed, in my opinion.
Yeah, he sure does. He sure does, and I'm excited to see how that goes for sure for them. But speaking of being put in a position to succeed, though, APAC and the lack of news on Sun
Lucy,
Chung Gu, man, we saw some things from him
whew,
the other day.
whew.
They had a pickup game out there, and it was the Sun Chung Gu show.
Man, all off season we've been seeing clips of this guy looking just like I tried to not get too high on him. I said, oh, he's just a dunker. But the more I watch, those are game changing dunks. He is fluid. He can get to the rack. I'm sure people are reaching out to him. But you should have already had this in the bag. If you made the move to go to Asia Pacific, Coach Mack, you abandoned your post in SimWorld Europe last season. You went there. I'm assuming you would have had eyes on what's looking like one of the well, the biggest talent out of that area, and maybe one of the bigger talents across the globe, that you would have already known about this guy. And if you would have already known about him in your backyard, you would have already talked to him. Hint, hint, note, note to all you coaches out there, and how it
Right.
probably should be operating. But for us to not have any news on it doesn't mean that it hasn't occurred.
That's
Doesn't mean
true. Yeah.
that
Right. Right.
finish him is not figured out where he's going. But I do find it shocking that we're on day two and we haven't heard anything about this kid being locked up. Because hey, I was wrong. I think he's gonna be a monster.
And you could look back at that best felt Warriors game they had and look at that and say, oh well, he didn't play well, that kind of thing. But that's only one quote unquote real game footage that we have of him. So to base your thoughts on that versus all of the things we've seen prior to, I think is a little bit disingenuous and unfair to him. So I think he'll be. I think yeah, game changing, momentum shifting dunks. One of the things that he does really well for a team, and that kind of athleticism you need to have it. If you're a pack, you need to have it. You
Yeah.
need to.
Well, they got it and some. They were already a tough squad, so let's not
Yeah,
forget about that. They were
that's
already going
true.
to be
That's true.
tons of trouble. Um,
You can add more.
yeah.
You can add more, man. Um, but we've seen over the past couple of days the players and coaches coming back together in some scenarios. Biggest ones, in my opinion, being Coach Skinny with his Heartland guys, and the Bryant brothers also get back together as well. That brings up the question though of is it good or bad for players and coaches to reunite together at any level, but let's focus on this civil prep level in particular. Um, I think that it's a good thing, but I also do think that in some cases and sometimes some players and coaches need to go their separate ways to continue to hone their craft and that kind of stuff. So I'm not gonna. So I think overall it's a good thing, but sometimes it can lead to complacency in some regards. What are your thoughts on it, though?
I mean, there's no way that it can go wrong, in my opinion. I think it's always a good look, opposite of in stark contrast to a relationship where it's like, hey, if it didn't work the first time, what you going back for? This isn't that scenario. Maybe the coach did something to better his positioning. Maybe the area he was in was too hot for him and he couldn't get it done. Whatever it is, he decided to move around. That has nothing to do with the chemistry and the relationship that these kids may have with the coach in most
Right,
scenarios. I'll say
right,
that. So I think
right.
it puts them an opportunity to build upon it. So I think it's a great thing, particularly in the Coach Skinny Washington scenario. Those are high character kids. We know
Yes,
Renzo
absolutely.
Bryant and Xavier X Weapon X Bryant were really good character kids. So I think that's a really big deal for anyone, especially at this level, to be honest, because consistency is the one thing that kids are missing. Routine, structure, and at least that familiarity is there.
Yeah, Big Bob spoke about it yesterday on our show, talking about consistency and Nene Gibson in particular. We can use him as an example here. He didn't have consistency for over the first couple of seasons here in SimWorld Prep, and he suffered for it in some regards. So yeah, I think that is huge. And by the way, Coach Skinny, I not I was using it as an example, not calling you out in specific for anything in particular. That I just want to get that out
Oh,
the way
stop
too.
apologizing. Let them sweat. Let them sweat, man. We're done with that since you out here being
Yeah,
nice this
yeah.
morning on a Monday.
That's it, man.
Be wrong.
Monday, man. Let me move right there, right.
Hey,
Anyway,
yesterday a
yeah,
lot of stuff that went on. So let me ask
yep,
you, and we kind of went through this yesterday. We had all those guests. Shout out to all the guests that joined and everyone that tuned in for the Commitment Craze edition
yep.
of
Thank
SimWorld
y'all.
today on a Sunday. Won't happen again. I tell you that. My Sundays, I relax. But yeah, from all the things that we saw yesterday, all of the transactions that went down. I don't even want to call them transactions because it's prep level, but
Yeah,
kids making
all the
their
commit.
move. Yeah, what was the biggest shocker for you? The biggest, not even just the biggest shocker. Which one kind of threw you off kilter the most?
Juwan Harris to Bay Area Breakers for me was mine. That kind of made me just go, huh? Why? Why there? And I say that because I know there was talk of him, going to Bad Boy Basketball and playing playing for them. Um, and then again you have Lakeshore Drive, who's right there as well, and he's from Illinois, so him leaving the Illinois area and going way out west, uh, I don't think that's a good spot for him because of how loaded that team is right now. I think that he would have been better off playing for Lakeshore or that with basketball. So he could have gotten maybe some immediate playing time or more minutes or whatever it may be. I'm not sure how they're going to use him yet, so this could be all wrong now, but in the future. But now this is my one that was like, okay, why? So yeah, what about you?
Uh, there were two. There were two
Okay.
for me. Um, I have no problem. I have no qualm with them. I'm just saying in terms of them growing themselves from a basketball standpoint. Um, Akeem Young, not a huge fan of him going to the North. Um, I think the Gulf Coast lockdown could have used him. More importantly, I think he could have used Gulf Coast lockdown,
Mm,
considering he was by and far the most talented offensive big man in that area. Um, the North is more going to be more built around shooters, or at least I'm going to hope and assume that they are. With Alex there, and some of the other kids that I know that are in that region. So I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it works out where it frees him up and gives him spacing. So that was one that really kind of threw me for a loop. The Akeem Young one. Um, I mean, yeah, that's the only one that really jumped off the paper for me.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. What about things that surprised you though? I know we spoke about I spoke about Corey Ames, but I have other one besides him that surprised me. It was a good surprise though, and in a way that I like the move. For me, it was the Johan Noah Jovic commit to Beyond the Arch. I
Okay.
really like that one in particular. And it's a surprise because I'm more so interested to see how that's going to affect both him and Daniel Hoare together because we know both of them can shoot. Even though Johan is a 3 level scorer, if that's the term 3 level scorer, he can get it done everywhere. But I think I that's a scary thought in a good way for Johan and Daniel being on the same team and sharing the floor together, possibly.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's probably the same one for me, but in the interest of mixing it up a little bit, um, and again, I guess I'm just kind of just to make sure that we're talking about a few things here. Cairo
Right? Yeah.
Windsor out of Queen City. I still don't think that pickup's talked about enough. That kid is a stud, and to steal Charles Barkley's frame or phrasing. Queen City, Charlotte, they have a grasp on everybody in their area for the most part.
Yeah.
With some of the pieces that they brought back, some of the pieces they brought in, for them still to be able to convince him to come play for the hometown, um, I find that very interesting. But they brought him in first, so they must have had some conversation. So really, that was a surprise for me that they were still able to pull that off. This morning, Tyree Wells for sure. How the hell did he get out of
Yeah.
the South at all? Forget Gulf
Agreed.
Coast lockdown area. How is he not on H Town Hoopers? How is he not on Lone Star Basketball? How is he not on Southeast Select, ATL? Oh,
Yeah.
come
So
on,
many teams there. Right.
come on,
Right.
man.
Right. I hear you. I hear you, and I'm hearing that bell too. At least we gotta get out of here, y'all. So well, look, we had a great show to start off the week yesterday, and now today, our first show, official show of the week. Thank y'all for joining us here on SimWorld today. We'll see you tomorrow, and you know the rules, guys. Just because we're in the off season does not mean you can't see the game, be the game. We'll see y'all tomorrow.